Hey everybody, and welcome back to our Morning Manna series, Set Apart. We're looking at key figures in the Bible who can teach us about what it means to be set apart. Today we're going to highlight a heroine whose efforts saved the Israelites from total annihilation. I want to talk about Esther. Esther is a beautiful, young Hebrew woman who was held in captivity along with all the other Israelites in Persia. Now, the Persian king Xerxes has a falling out with his wife, Queen Vashti, because she won't obey him. So Xerxes has her removed as queen. Thus begins the search for a new queen for King Xerxes. And it just so happens that Esther is the most attractive woman to the king, so he marries her and makes her queen. A short time later, King Xerxes elevates a Persian noble to a powerful position within the Persian government, Haman the Agagite. Now, an important note about Haman is that he is descended from Agag, the former king of the Amalekites. And the Amalekites are the sworn enemies of the Hebrews. In 1 Samuel chapter 15, God tells the then king Saul to completely destroy the Amalekites for what they did to the Israelites when Israel crossed the Red Sea with Moses. Saul obeys, but only to an extent. He kills everyone except the king Agag, and he takes the best of their plunder. After hearing about this, the prophet Samuel goes to the king Saul and rebukes him for doing such a wicked thing as to disobey God. Samuel then put to death Agag before the Lord at Gilgal. Haman knows this history very well. He also knows that he has the power to wipe out the Hebrews once and for all, but he does not know that the queen is a Hebrew herself and that she knows of his plot. But Esther is afraid. If she were to try to intervene and save her people, she would be putting her own life at risk. Anyone that goes before the king without being summoned takes the risk of being put to death, because the king can either lower his staff, which means that you are allowed to approach him, or he can just not lower his staff, which means you're instantly put to death. And from what we know about King Xerxes, he's kind of a hot-tempered guy. This is a huge risk that Esther is going to take. She is urged by her cousin Mordecai to go to the king and plead for his help. Mordecai speaks these words to Esther in chapter 4, verses 13 and 14. Do not think to yourself that in the king's palace you will escape any more than all the other Jews. For if you keep silent at this time, relief and deliverance will rise for the Jews from another place. But you and your father's house will perish. And who knows whether you have not come to the kingdom for such a time as this. This is a powerful message. Esther knows what she needs to do, but she's afraid to do it because it could cost her her life. But perhaps this is why she became queen in the first place. So many of us already know what we must do in our own lives. We're just scared to do it. Consider with me for a moment a boy who is scared to get hit by a ball. His destiny is to hit a home run, but it's the fear of getting hit that holds him back from stepping up to the plate to meet his destiny. There are so many of us who can relate. You may want to move on from bitterness, but you don't want to forgive the person who hurt you out of fear of them getting away with such an injustice. Maybe you want to join a community of people to make friends, but too many people have hurt you, so you close yourself off again in fear of getting hurt. Or maybe you want to stand up for what's right, but the pressure to fit in is easier than standing out and holding your ground on what's right, so you conform out of fear of being rejected. We can be scared to step up to the plate. For Esther, she's scared because she could die, but she decides to help anyway despite being afraid. She goes before the king, and Xerxes lowers his scepter to her, preserving her life. She comes up with a plan to deliver her people from the hand of Haman, and it happens. Haman is killed because of his plot, and the Israelites are saved. The point of the story is that Esther was set apart to save her people, but this meant risking her own life to do it. Now, I know most of us are not going to face life or death scenarios when it comes to doing what you're supposed to do, but I can say confidently that if you were to be set apart for God's purposes, you will be put in situations that will make you face some stuff that can be scary and intimidating. Here's my challenge to you. Do not allow the fear of the enemy to hold you back from what you're called to do. Being set apart means sometimes confronting our fears and walking into the stuff that scares us most. But fear not, because Jesus is with us. He is our protector against darkness such as fear. We can be confident in the fact that Jesus has vanquished the enemy and that when he calls us, he is faithful to shepherd us through it from beginning to end. I'll see you guys tomorrow.